All right, cool. So we just did a really cool video upstairs, up top the rooftop at a place called Trilogy Cafe, talking about health and the benefit of being a healthy entrepreneur and what that looks like. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into this man's mind about mindset. You know, what does that look like beyond e-commerce? So, you know, can we brag for a second here? Like, what kind of numbers are you doing now?
7 figures a month.
7 figures a month. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, obviously there is a killer mindset that this man has. What I want to know a little bit more about that. We're just noticing all the awesome people.
Yeah.
So I want to dive into like your mindset. You know, what makes you tick? Like, what is the thing for the entrepreneur, for the person out there? And we're gonna go beyond e-commerce here in a little bit. But like for the person listening to this right now, you know, what is the thing that makes a 7 figures a month person tick? How would you break that down?
First thing definitely has to be comes down to the what, right? The what, and that has to be very crystal clear. You know, you can basically envision, you know exactly what it is that you want. You know, the exact number. It's crazy how we can, you know, pinpoint to the exact revenue figure, because every goal that I've set, you know, it always pretty much lands on that number.
You hit it right away, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy. So like, I guess
Buddha.
Having a clear.
Hey, let's get Buddha in the background for a second.
All right, let's do it.
We're gonna set the vibe over here with some Buddha.
Clear what, and then just the intensity of how you attack that whatever the thing you want. And it's like, in everything that you do throughout the whole day, are you aware of your goals? Are the things you're doing right now? So there's only 2 things that can happen. So is this thing taking you closer or further away from your goal?
Yeah.
And it's just that paintbrush has to be very, very clear.
Wow. Okay. So this is what I'm hearing when I hear that. So from my perspective, it's like goal setting, but not just having goals, but being relentless about sticking to those goals constantly. Because if you waver for 1 second in any area, I mean, because that can happen in, I mean, even dating. Like, you could derail your life with dating the wrong people, even in the relationship with being with someone who is high maintenance or someone who is unhealthy. Like, being in a relationship dynamic is unhealthy, or even bringing on a business partner or working with certain team members who are maybe more work to manage than they are that they actually, what value they bring. So like goal setting, but then, and I guess maybe I'm going to the next question already, but like bringing in and attracting, talk about that. So like, obviously you're not just doing this as a one-man show. You have a team, you have a lot of things going on for you. So talk about like what it looks like to bring in the right team members to support that vision, those goals that you set every single day.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, if you're gonna have a 7-figure business, it's very hard to do it all by yourself. Yeah. Almost impossible. You probably have no sleep, which is not ideal. So I guess it's also a learning process, right? Because my first team that I hired, you know, we went from 1 person to 10, and then that all pretty much collapsed because I didn't know how to manage the team.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But now we have over 20, and it's working smoothly. So that's a great feeling, because that enables me to be here, to travel, to you know, work 30 minutes a day, for example.
Isn't that insane? Did you guys just hear that? 30 minutes a day, and this man is making 7 figures a month. So you cannot build an empire without having a solid team of people. Almost a head-on collision. So, because I know that too. Like, I launched, we talked briefly, and I'm like a guppy compared to this man right here, you know, as far as e-commerce. But I launched my e-com business. It did very well. You know, it was a side hustle, something for fun that I just wanted to do as a challenge with a friend of mine. And I hired 2 guys immediately, and I knew that if I didn't train them the right ways from the get-go, it was going to be 3 or 4 or even 6 times as much work to manage it. And so I had to like vet them, but I also had to make sure that they were trainable. Otherwise, it was going to cause me unnecessary stress and keep me away from my goals. So, okay.
That's really, I mean, smart of you, because most people, they don't see it like that. They see it as a cost, you know, to their business. They don't see it as time leveraged and investing in themselves.
Wow.
I guess a different perspective of, you have to think of if you were already 7 figures, how would you think, or how would they think?
Yeah.
So it comes back to, again, that mindset thing. Not being trapped in your old version. Oh no, this is gonna be a cost. I can't do this. Kind of feeling. Yeah.
That's interesting. I was watching a video the other day. Same thing. You know, like the people who you bring in, people have a hard time bringing in team members, or like if they hire out to do their job, so that way they can start managing more of the upper level work, the bigger decisions in the companies and the businesses. And so, like how do I say this? The length in which someone had or the ability in which someone had to let go of control of the day-to-day operations and actually trust someone to do their job was directly proportional to the success or the lack of success around that person's business. And so, like, they couldn't let go, they couldn't trust, and so they kept bringing people onto the team and then kept firing them. Like 10 people later, 12 people later, fire, and they said, well, why can't I bring in anyone that's good? And the reality, it wasn't that they were bad, it's this person's expectations were set so high, they weren't them. So, like, obviously no one is ever going to replace you.
Right.
No one's ever going to replace me or you listening to this right now in your company or your business. Speak to that for a little bit. Like, what?
Yeah. So,
like, what's your mindset going into that?
So, I think it's
like, how do you let go?
Yeah, it's very difficult because they're never gonna be you, right? And they're never gonna think like you and do the things that you would do, like the little nuances and stuff like that. So, but I come back to, I guess, mindset again. Like, okay, if they're not doing something right, let's not blame it on them, but let's see how I can take responsibility and the accountability for the situation. So I learned everything I could with systems and building a team, and it's just very so I systematized every single processes in the business, from CSR, from fulfillment, from handling disputes, customer complaints, from launching Facebook ads, finding products, just every single detail. I spent hours and days just doing this
sleepless
document.
Nights.
Yeah, and it's the most boring thing you can do, but it's again the most.
Yeah.
Again, I think of it as an investment, because
of course.
And then once they have this thing, like you do video recordings and the detailed list, like they have everything they need. And so when we hire new people, they come to this system and they do it, and we basically just, if there's any changes, we just work on the system. So it's always gonna be there, and you're not dependent on someone. Let's say if they leave, you're not gonna be like, oh my god, right? But you have the system with you, so it's duplicatable. So it's just taking responsibility of the moment and just making it so that everyone can do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's one of the things that's funny, because I'm very grateful to hear this feedback, because when I was hiring out my e-commerce guys, my team, I did the same thing. I did a screen share, that whole thing, to go through the video, screen share, like to the detail. It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Let's just be real here. But I knew that if I didn't invest that time in the very beginning, I would pay for it massively later. Not just on the front end of like the investment financially, but also in having to invest more money because I lost that money, and invest more time at the end. So really, like, taking the time. So this is like a key that I want you to listen to right now. Like, taking the time to do it right the first time and set the foundation is so pivotal. So talk about principles. Like, for me in life, as in the internal world, inside of ourselves, but also just in success in life in general. Like, talk about the benefit and the value behind focusing on building from the right principles.
Yeah, so principles is everything, right? Because there's so many methods, there's so many ways to do it, but if you understand principles, you understand the fundamental laws, the fundamental truths. So, I kind of lost your question here.
Right.
No, all good. It's like the puppy walking by. Yeah. So cute. The fundamental principles. Like, talk about the importance of building from the principles.
I mean, it's everything, because it's the, I guess it's the focus, right? If we're building from the wrong, I guess, fundamentals, that just takes us, like, for example, if people don't understand the fundamentals of, let's say, e-commerce, they get fiddled with, finding that Facebook hack, that Facebook strategy.
Trying to cut corners, right?
Or like just trying to find that secret, that one secret. But it's never the Facebook hack.
Right.
Okay. So they're already on the wrong thing. And yeah, they start, they're going on the groups like, F Zuckerberg kind of stuff.
So they go into victim mode, mentality, like rather than accepting responsibility and actually recognizing that shit takes work, and that like hard work is like there's no substitute for hard work.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing I was just hearing is I hinted at it, it's like looking for shortcuts. Like I feel like innately people try to shortcut the process of life, not just in life, but not just in business, relationships. They try to like make everything easy, but sometimes like the shit's just not easy. You got to do work. You got to put in the effort. Otherwise, it will bite you in the ass.
Right.
Again and again and again. So something I'm really curious about for you, like on the entrepreneur side, I know we talked about at lunch a ton of going inward, and we talked about meditation in the last video. And if you didn't see that one, check it out. It's going to be amazing. We talked about going inward. So like, what are some of what are some of the biggest ahas about yourself as a human being that you've learned in going inward, even through entrepreneurship? Like, talk about those. That's what I'm really intrigued and interested in. What makes you tick?
What makes me tick?
Yeah, like what are some of the biggest things you've realized about yourself? Even the ugly stuff, even the bad things, because that's those parts of ourselves. When we put awareness to it, that's all of a sudden we're like, okay, this is a part of myself I don't like, but now that I know it, I can adjust to it. I can either not find a workaround, but I can rebuild or heal it. Or I can find someone else to help, manage that part of the business because of something that I'm not strong at. Like, talk about some of the things that you've discovered about yourself, the biggest things.
Do you want to start that one?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Let's see. And so frame of reference, guys, like, I haven't talked about this a lot in the other videos, but I mean, with like 10,000 hours, we're trying not to get hit by cars here. We're in downtown La Jolla. We're walking towards the seals. So in doing 10,000 plus hours of introspection, meditation, going inward, hundreds of ayahuasca ceremonies, diving deeply into my soul, like some of the deepest things I found about myself, I'd say in general are the deep imperfections of who I am. Some of those things are the hardest things to ever look at, to acknowledge, to actually go, man, this is where I suck at. This is where I'm not a good person. Let me make it tangible. So, in managing time and being able to balance like relationship life with business life. And I feel like a lot of us in entrepreneurship and in business, we struggle to balance, the different areas of life. And so by seeing those shortcomings and just looking at it from a perspective, we lost him.
We're back.
So like in seeing those things, it really makes me aware and go, this is an area I know I need to work on, that I want to shift through, I want to evolve through. But it's almost like if the shit didn't hit the fan, if something didn't come up that caused me to actually take a look at it, nothing would have ever made that awareness known to me. Because most of the time, when people, even if they're giving us feedback of like, hey, you're not doing this, or you should be doing this, and we're like, oh yeah, sure, I got it all figured out, because we all want to pretend that we know everything. That's just so normal. That's human conditioning,
Right.
And it's the ego protecting itself. And so, it's these situations where someone tells us something enough, and for me, like my go-to is if someone tells me something more than 2 times, ideally around 3 times, then I start, okay, this is a pattern. This is the third person on the outside of me who's seeing something about myself that I'm not aware of. I should take a look at it. And so I go inward and I take an honest look. And that's the key, is humility, is the honest look at the self and actually go, is this person right? Because if they are, then there's something that I don't want to have anymore and I want to shift that. So yeah, that's what I would say. And as in one of my clients that I was working with, he was asking me, he's like, yeah, I don't understand why all the people I'm working with, as far as he helped other businesses to build businesses, and so he says he was struggling with managing relationship dynamics within his clients, and as we were talking about his pattern, I said, hey, is this same pattern showing up in your relationship with your wife? And he really had to take an honest long look at himself, and he's like, shit, yeah, it is. It's also present. I'm like, okay. So again, like how you're doing one thing in life or not doing is how you're doing it in all areas, or how you're not doing it in all areas. So become aware first and foremost, then do something differently about it. So, yeah, man, let's see. That's the biggest thing. What's coming up for you, brother? What are you inspired to share, mindset-wise, or any secrets? This is the segment of the video where Jade is going to spill the beans on the secrets to life.
So I think a big secret I want to share is it goes in the long lines of, if you guys heard of quantum physics,
Yes.
quantum theory, talks about how our actions, they are important, but they fail to be as important as our expectations of whatever this thing is.
This thing.
Yeah, the goal is.
Yeah.
Right? Because some people might take action, and a lot of people do, but in their head they're like, I don't think I can do it, or this number's too big for me. And it's that expectation that's not allowing them to receive that success. So it's like, I wish like everyone who started ecom would do like a 1 month mindset stuff, just to really get clear and get confident that it is achievable. And just work from that point of I'm expecting it to work. Because I remember, like, before I started ecom, I was just reading tons of like mindset stuff, like psychology stuff, and I wake up in like the morning 6 a.m. and I would look at the sunrise, and I would see, I kind of have that smile when I look out, and because I know it's going to happen. And when you have that kind of level of certainty, and then when you're in perfect alignment, there's nothing that could happen that wouldn't.
Yes.
You just have that feeling. Yeah, and it's the same with, I think, a lot of every aspect in your life. Like sometimes you just have that innate intuition or that gut feeling that, oh, it's happening. Yeah,
I love that. That's so important. Okay, so waking up every morning, like seeing that vision, knowing that you could do it, and feeling it in your body.
definitely.
Yeah. So like, what does that look like for someone who's like, for these ecom guys that are listening to this right now, around building the mindset of a success, their goal setting, and that the number's not too big to not reach, but that they actually can reach it. Like, what does some of that mindset work look like? Like, what would you prescribe to them? Like, here, doctor, tell me. Here's my doctor's note. What do I do? What does that ecom person do?
There's a lot of things, and I think biggest thing probably is, let me rewind.
Yeah.
And in terms of the not feeling like it's too difficult, right?
Sure. All the above, man. Like, so you talked about like every morning waking up and feeling like that certainty, but also building the belief, building the mindset. Like, what does someone do who doesn't have that certainty or that mindset built? What do they do to build it? Like, if you gave them like a step by step to build it, like what is that?
Because it's also not as practical to say from someone who's never started anything. Be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have, because obviously they're gonna have that doubt, right? And it's nothing they can do to get rid of it. So I think the first thing is to understand that yes, you can achieve it, because if other people can, they've done something that allowed them to achieve it. So that in itself is already enough proof for you to believe that you can do it too. It's just that the mental constructs that you have to build over time. But in the beginning, it's just building that confidence slowly. So I think confidence is like very much linked to competence.
Yes.
So if you're, let's say, starting ecom, okay, understand that you can do it, and also start with smaller goals, and then, or just when you tell yourself you're going to do this, and actually do it. And it's just like keeping the promises that you make to yourself day in, day out, no matter how small, over time builds up to
momentum
really,
building, confidence building.
Because then once you're like, oh, I can actually do this, then you're like, all right, let's play it bigger.
This.
And then you actually do it again, and then you're like, wow, I can actually do the things that I set myself to do.
Yep.
And then over time that builds up into confidence and the bigger goals.
Nice. Okay, so So it's interesting you say that, because I know I've done that. Like when in starting a new business in an arena that I'm not familiar with, I will seek out the best of the best in that arena and start studying them, even from afar. But just, you know, consuming their content or just getting into their mind and building the belief within myself, because, you know, we on some level we want to know that it's been done before.
Yeah.
You know, we want to know that someone else has actually already experienced it. So it's exactly what you're talking about, which is like, you know, start surrounding yourself, start looking into people who have already been successful, study them, watch them, and look for good role models. Like especially in entrepreneurship, especially with mentors or coaches or different things like that. There's a lot of people who are actually rubbish. They're full of shit. They're not even real. But then there's a lot of others who are real, and they're almost too good to be true. Like I know, in starting like when I started e-commerce as a fun side project, I was looking out different people, and some of them you can kind of tell they were real, but others you're like, oh, this guy's real. So you have to like develop like a radar to know who is real and who is not, and really look for proof. The proof is in the pudding, and then from there, just start getting wrapped up around building the belief, the certainty, and then from there, every single day, set your goals, work towards it, and then eventually you'll hit it, you'll work it.
Yeah, definitely.
Did I miss anything? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you on that, because, like, let's say, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, not to hate on anyone, but there's a lot of people
speak the truth, bro.
Who don't really have the results, but they're trying to push out stuff
To make money.
To make money, and that's fair, right? But also remember that they can only teach you what they know. So if they're only hitting, I don't know, a number.
Say it. Yeah.
I don't know, a couple hundreds
if they're
a day.
preaching, make them, you know, 7 figures a month, and they're only making, you know, a couple thousand a day, you know, times 30 days, they're not going to be able to hit $1 million themselves.
Yeah.
Why would you listen to them to make $1 million a month?
And if you're following that blueprint, again, then it's, you know, it's setting yourself up for that kind of results too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, kind of ties into what you said just now.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so mindset. This is all about mindset, guys. Mindset is everything in life. And I want to make this like more granular. This isn't just about e-commerce and business, but about life. You know, you don't want to be attached to like certain mindsets for every single thing you do, but it's about building those beliefs. It's about building that confidence to know that you're going to be successful in the areas of life that you're moving into. So maybe for you, it's attracting in the love of your life. Maybe it's you know, continuing to build a very successful relationship. We already talked about business, you know, or maybe it's going deeper into yourself because you're looking for something deeper, you know, a higher power, or, you know, connecting with the Buddha, or whatever it is you're doing. You know, mad respect for all that. Mindset is for me is everything. So, you know, any closing thoughts or any last wisdom bombs, sir? Superman.
I mean, we can talk about what I believe is the ultimate blueprint to success.
Let's do it. Tell me.
You guys want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to hear it.
They want to hear
Nod
it.
your head and smile.
All right.
Yes.
So we talked briefly about the what, right?
Yeah.
The what has to be very clear. The vision, what you want. You can almost, like, if someone asks you, you have to be able to say it. Like, you know, I want this, full stop. Yeah. So that's the first step. Nothing can happen without being clear. You know, people these days, we have trouble just deciding what we want to eat for dinner.
Yeah.
So, you know,
That's so true.
yeah, we need to really be clear on what it is that we want. And then the second part, which is going to drive that thing, is why. Why do you want it? You know, and what I found is that it could be a reason that's, you know, coming from a dark place. Can be from, you know, and when you study successful people, a lot of them do have a chip off their shoulder.
Yeah.
You know, they have very like tough backgrounds and stuff like that. Need something to prove to others. You know, whatever that is for you, you know, just embrace it. And there's no right
Great
or wrong.
advice right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, actually, you bring up for me, because I was doing a little reading. Watch yourself, Mitch. I was doing a little reading on Kobe Bryant when the reason why they started calling him the Black Mamba, and so he actually developed the Black Mamba as like an alter ego when he took to the floor, the basketball floor, to take out his like wrath onto all the players when he was going through his personal stuff with, you know, going through, I don't think he got divorced, but like, you know, his marriage stuff that he went through. and you guys know that story. But the point is, like, he developed this alter ego, and so that was his way of like, I'm gonna take it out on the court. This is who I am, the Black Mamba, and it came from a dark place.
Yeah.
But it was his way to process that emotion, that information, and to get through it, and that was his vehicle. So it's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I guess to add to that is, you know, you can come from a dark place, but as long as you're aware of it, I think it's totally cool, right? Because we don't get lost into trying to keep proving, because you're never enough. But if you're aware of it, like, you understand, you can harness the energy, but you don't have to react to, I guess, everything. So yeah, that's the first two. That's like more of the mindset part. You paint the clear picture, and then you understand what's going to drive you, because, you know, everything goes up and down. There are good days and bad days, and it's how you. A lot of people, I think, give up because they're not really clear why they're doing it. And if it's just for, let's say, money, that motivation is not really, usually not strong enough to keep you going. And so once you have the why nailed down, you can have a lot of reasons. And yeah, the next thing would be the action step. So that is where you would have to find the blueprint of someone who is legit, and that is the due diligence you have to do. Someone who's living the thing that they're teaching, not
that's
just
so important.
saying it.
They're not posers.
Yeah.
No posers.
And ultimately, you want to see someone who has the results that you want. Yeah.
So then you're a big believer in mentorship, coaching.
Yeah. Because it will actually save years and years.
Oh yeah. Shortcut the process.
You'll actually spend more money doing it or failing forward than to do it, you know, fail forward but on a right path. If that makes sense. Yeah.
So like ROI wise, like, you're gonna lose some in the beginning, but towards like the tail end, it's like a boost, like a turbo boost. It just takes off.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. So sometimes, like, in life, you have to be willing to, you know, put in the time, put in the effort, but it's also, you have to be willing to spend money to make more money. And it's also just investing in yourself.
Yeah.
Because if you're not investing in yourself, and especially with the right advice or the right mentors, then you're going to keep spinning your wheels. And that's another thing too, and that's another reason why, for me, as I'm listening to you talk about, you know, the how and the why, it's so important to continue to be self-aware of how we're showing up or not. Because if we are showing up in a way that is incongruous with who we truly are, like, if we're the type of person that always spins our wheels, we're going to continue to attract in people into our life who spin their wheels, even if they're a mentor. And so you really have to find someone who, in a way, pushes all your fucking buttons. Like, and I mean that in the best way. So, like, there's going to be an extreme example, but, like, you think of the military or, like, the Navy SEALs. I've been studying these guys a lot lately around their mental fortitude and understanding, you know, how they move through everything they do. You know, and these guys are literally getting a drill sergeant yelling in their face, like, tell me they're not getting pushed to the point of breaking. Like, that's the entire point. I'm not saying to find someone who's going to abuse you, use you and abuse you. Nothing like that. But they have to push you. Otherwise, you're going to continue to stay in your box. And if you're not shifting out of your box, you're just going to keep getting in life and in business and in relationships and every area of life what you've always gotten.
Yeah.
So actually welcome those kinds of challenges.
Yeah. Definitely.
What's next in the
so once you have
blueprint?
Once you have the blueprint, then you gotta. It's just, you know, the end phages are much more easy. You just evaluate what's working, cut out the things that are not.
Super simple.
Yeah, and refining that blueprint. What's working for you, what's not, and just keep doing the thing that's working for you, moving you towards you.
Got it. So like doubling down, tripling down on the thing that's working, and the things that aren't, just kind of remove them. Yeah. So it's like removing the excess from life, or the things that are wasting energy, which is a super high level thing to do. And I think the person who has a perfectionist mind, or the person who wants to make sure everything is perfect, that's probably the hardest thing for them to let go of, because they want to hang on to everything, and they say, oh, well, this area's not right yet, let me make it right. But sometimes it's not meant to be right. You know, you have to let it go, because that's actually the thing that's holding you back the furthest from being able to let everything else rocket you forward.
Definitely. Yeah.
Any other words? Why is Sage you?
I think we're
at a wrap?
Pretty much.
All right. Well, cool, guys. Well, so this was about mindset. This is beyond e-commerce. This is just mindset in general, about life, about business,
Oh, there is one thing I actually want to mention.
Go for it.
This ties into mindset again. That from studying people who are successful and why they are, a lot of people have that sense of when they want to achieve something, they have that sense of urgency.
Yes.
And it's almost as if they raise necessity to get it done, and they have to get it done. Like when they change their goal to I must.
So fire under their ass.
And it's like I do genuinely believe that anyone can achieve anything. Like let's say, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but like if, for example, you had to achieve something, or else your family won't live.
Yes. So kind of like do or die, life or death.
Do or die. It's
Okay.
Raise necessity. So like a good quote that I heard from Brendan Bouchard. He said that there was, I don't remember the exact quote, but he said there were guys on the racetrack running on the sprint, and he asked one of his friends who's going to win the race, and he said, I'm willing to bet all my money on the guy who's running for my mom.
Wow. There you go.
Doing it for mom, and that's a huge why, and that's a huge kind of like raising necessity to get it done. Yeah, I mean, I guess it comes back to the intensity, right?
Yeah.
Of how you attack everything.
That's super fascinating. So that's not just advice for what would motivate you in business, but also in finding the right partner in life for dating or relationships or even business partners. So that's something typically I'll always ask, like, what's your why? Like, what drives you? What fuels you? What motivates you? Because if they don't have a big enough why, then they're just kind of comfortable. And if they're just kind of comfortable, that's how they're going to operate and be for the entirety of the relationship, whatever that is. Again, whether it's dating, relationships, or business, doesn't matter. Or even client, for that matter. Like, you have to know that someone is really juiced, someone's really on fire about life, and that they want it. So it's good to get in the mindset of where they're coming from and what that looks like, and to reverse engineer that for the people that you bring into your circle. Because again, if you're bringing in people that are just kind of like half-assing life, and those are who we surround ourselves with, that's who we become. So you want to find people who are also equally driven. They have that massive fire. Maybe it's to prove a point or prove mom or dad wrong. I don't know. It could be that too.
Yeah.
Or maybe someone is do or die. And those are the people that usually become the most successful.
Yeah. How bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? Nike, just do it.
Yeah.
Nike, call me. You need to cough up some money for that one. Any other words, bro?
I'm good, bro.
Okay, cool. Cool, guys. Well, so that was some high-level mindset of beyond e-com, beyond the things that you're already doing in business, in life, in relationships. In the last video, we talked about health. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Comment in the comments below what you learned out of this video, and let us know what had the biggest impact on you. All right, guys. Alain here and Jade. We're signing out.
Peace, guys.
Later, guys.